Good morning.
Good morning.
I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmasters 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Please help me welcoming our Toastmaster this morning. He's an advanced communicator bronze. He also is the VP of membership for this club. Please help me welcoming Gus Davis.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. We're so delighted you could be with us this morning. You will see from the agenda we have, I chose the theme Memorial Day. 3 reasons why I chose the theme. We want to be prepared when Monday comes. Memorial Day, we'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's going to be on Monday. So we want to be prepared. We can be in the moment when Monday comes, or the whole 3-day weekend that is related to Memorial Day. Secondly, going through my entertainment speech, I had to find something that was somber, serious, and solid when I become a Toastmaster. So I'm not just giving this entertaining speech and saying, how does the pastor do that? You know, Martin is not here today. It's always good to be prepared to be in the moment. It's a huge thing to remember those who have fallen for our nation, the freedom we have. How do we enjoy that freedom? What was the price paid for that? A time to honor those who've gone, but also to remember their families. A time when we also think people decorate, but the decoration and celebration will be with meaning. So the last Monday of May is always chosen to be Memorial Day. I'll be giving you some other tidbits along the way. We have a packed agenda today. I'm going to, shortly I will introduce our technical table. I'm still looking for Mike Hughes to fly through that door, you know, talking about Memorial Day. Who needs to be in the room? It's Mike Hughes, because he serves in the military. We've made some adjustment in the evaluator number 3. Stephen Morgan will be evaluating Carrie Bird later on. And Stephen will also do the club business. These speeches are very tight and packed, so I'm going to go right ahead and introduce our technical table. They will tell us what they do and there are consequences if you don't do that. So let's start with our grammarian for the day. Our grammarian is Mr. Jorge Fuego. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and honored guest this morning. As grammarian, it is my function to select a word of the day to help build members' vocabularies. Each member, when they are called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. Other members may rap gently on the table when they hear a member use the word. The word today is intransigent. It means unwilling to change or being stubborn, uncompromising, characterized by a refusal to compromise or to abandon an extreme position or attitude. An example would be that the president has remained intransigent in his opposition to the proposal. In addition, I'll be listening for any errors in grammar, as well as excellent word selections. I will also be noting any colorful thoughts or phrases members might use. And it's 25 cents for those who do not end up using the word of the day.
Thank you. And moving along, for our speeches, we want to hear from our art counter, Macarena Torres.
It is my function to listen for the use of filler words such as ah, you know, so, okay, and in other audible pauses as fillers. I will be noting if members perform any double clutches, which means to say things twice, such as this means, this means. Finally, I will also include things which might be distracting, such as lip smacks. I will present my report during the evaluation portion of the meeting.
5 cents.
5 cents for me. Moving along, I don't want to be intransigent with my order here, so I will now call on Julia Kaufman, our timer.
Toastmasters and our most distinguished guest. This intransigent timer refuses to let this meeting go late, even though we have a packed meeting. So be very aware of these 3 cards. And if this card pops up, speakers, it's time to sit down. We have different times today. Sam is speaking for 5 to 7 minutes, Ernst from 10 to 12, and Carrie from 6 to 8. You'll see this green card 2 minutes before you're ending, the yellow a minute before you're ending, then the red, and like I said, it's time to wrap up. I will give a report at the end of the meeting, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Welcome, Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes will be evaluating speaker number
Mike,
2.
we have a spot down here.
Make sure you get his book and you can move right over here. Get his book and
I didn't bring my book.
right.
Mike does not need a book. He doesn't without the book.
Have a seat, Mike. Get your breakfast. Come over. Our first prepared speech this morning will be speaking from Competent Communicator Project number 3. Get to the point. Organize a speech to achieve general and specific purpose. And Sam Bailey, our speaker, has been working very hard to move along. Now that college is over, he's working to keep moving his speech along. So he's on project number 3. He's going to be talking about what are the spiritual implications we can find for growth even in the Christian scriptures. So please help welcome Sam Bailey, our first speaker.
$549 million. $549 million each and every year are spent on self-improvement books. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, today I would like to share with you a 2,000-year-old, tried and tested method of self-improvement, absolutely free of charge. And it starts out with having 3 people in your lives: a Barnabas, a Paul, and a Timothy. Now, who are these individuals? We'll get to Paul and Timothy in a minute, but right now I want to talk about Barnabas. Barnabas in the New Testament was Paul's best friend. He was someone that they served in ministry for a very long time with together, and then something happened. They had a fight and they split their separate ways. But after a while, Paul realized his intransigency and fixed his errors and came back and said it was more profitable for them to be in ministry together than for him to hold on to his anger. Barnabas was that kind of friend who was willing to get in your face and tell you you're doing something wrong. But he was also that kind of friend who was willing to give you a little nudge if you were needing encouragement to say yes to something. The first kind of person you need in your life is a friend who's willing to tell you yes and give you a harsh no. The second kind of person you need in your life is a Paul. Now, Paul was the greatest evangelist who ever lived on the face of the earth. He literally evangelized all over the Roman Empire, from what we would know as Italy today, Saudi Arabia, France, everywhere. He ended up going to jail for it. But while he was in jail, he wrote all of these different letters to churches within the Roman Empire. Some of them were slight critiques. Others were disciplinary, and some were letters of praise. That kind of sounds a little bit like Barnabas, doesn't it? Well, here's the main difference. Barnabas was a friend. Paul was a mentor, someone as an authoritarian figure. Let me give you an example. Mike is a mentor to me. We practice this in Toastmasters. He sits down, he'll critique my speeches a little bit, give me words of advice, tell me where I need to improve, and then he'll send me on my way. But if you were to hit him and Rich together in the same room, that's a completely different relationship. That is a Barnabas versus a Paul type relationship. The last type of relationship that you need is a Timothy. Timothy was a student of Paul. Why is that important? I'm a terrible individual and even more so of an influence. You do not want me teaching anybody. Let me give you an example. It doesn't have to be like what me and Mike have where we'll go out and we'll sit, have a few drinks, and talk about the speech. It can be 2 minutes. There was a man who came to my church. His name was Justin. He had a beautiful wife, small child, and I noticed he came in with all these young adults. So I asked around and I found out that he was actually a house parent at a children's home, which is huge to me because that's what I want to be able to do. I want to own a children's home when I get older. So I went up and I sat down with him and I asked him, what would he change if he could change one thing about the children's home? And he sat there for a solemn minute and kind of put his hands together, thought about it, and said something that I've heard several times before, but never really took in consideration. Separation of church and state. When you have money flowing in from all different areas, it brings a conflict of interest. But if you have it on just a few privately funded areas, sponsors, you have so many less errors that it can occur, almost zero politics, and it creates a better environment for the children because decisions can be made swiftly and aimlessly. And that's what we want, for the children to have a better lifestyle. And that was a 2-minute conversation that literally stuck with me since the time that I last talked to him. But don't wait for tomorrow to have these type of conversations with people. Because it was maybe 3 weeks later that Justin, he was skateboarding with a few of the kids from the children's home. And there was an accident. And Justin left this life and went into the next. 3 weeks later after that conversation. And he left his beautiful wife and children behind in this world. You don't know how much time you have left. You don't know if you have a minute, you don't know if you have a week, you don't know if you have a year, you don't know if you have 50 years. You don't know. So don't wait. Make the point to invest into somebody else's life. Because you can literally change generations. That 2-minute conversation is going to directly impact thousands of kids. And he probably didn't even remember it. So you need 3 kinds of people in your life. A Barnabas, a friend who is willing to tell you yes or no. A Paul, someone to point you in the right direction. A guide, a mentor. And finally, and most importantly, a Timothy. Someone who you can invest your life into, even if it's 2 minutes. Because when you start to invest into somebody else, that is when you will be the person who you can truly be. Thank you.
One minute on the clock timer, please. Thank you. Our second prepared speaker for today is Speaker Ernst Umbanchik. Yeah, I see that. Married for 43 years, and he and his wife, Gita, have 2 adult children. He will be speaking from the Entertaining Speaker Manual Project number 5. Speaking after dinner. We haven't finished breakfast yet, but he will be speaking after dinner. And the subject he's speaking about is avoiding the poverty trap. The speech is very light, lively, entertaining, no surprise, and positive. He is speaking in front of hundreds, so just imagine you are now hundreds of educators in this room, and you just had a great dinner. So imagine you are at the Orlando Marriott, you've had the best dinner you can think about, and now you have a speaker who is going to give you an entertaining speech. Please help me welcome Ernst.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What a great introduction. And Brigham Young once said, educate a man, you educate a man. Educate a woman, and you educate a generation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And a very welcome to the mayor of the great city of Orlando, the Honorable Buddy Dyer, and to the president of the Orlando School Board, Mr. Jones, the board members, and to the many parents of children who are going to the Orlando area schools. My speech today is focusing on avoiding the poverty trap in this country of plenty. I know I'm talking to a lot of educators out there, and you're leaning towards the left side of the political persuasion, and your idea of reducing poverty is by giving more of other people's money to the less fortunate. I believe I have a solution which is right up your alley as educators. My solution is providing an educational approach, avoiding the poverty trap through developing a national parenting curriculum which is taught to every kid at school. Now I gotta confess, I don't have a title next to my name. I never wrote a book. I never published a paper. Being married for 43 years, having 2 children, maybe that gives me some authority to speak to you tonight. I was never considered also to be the sharpest knife in the drawer. Early on, I was always called young and stupid. Now my wife calls me old and stupid. But I've always had a lot of street smarts and was wise in many ways. I was never considered very smart at school, and I was kind of fidgety and kind of a mediocre student. But early on, I was wise beyond my age. And I never really believed the story my mom used to tell me, that babies are delivered by a stork. I believe that this story was as highly unlikely and came right before the myth of the male Easter bunny laying colored eggs for Easter. Maybe brown ones, but not red, yellow, or green. I'm sure you get my drift. Or Santa Claus coming down the chimney delivering presents to the children. You did not have to be really that educated to figure that one out. But our highly educated German elementary school teachers always used to teach us these stories. Plus, we had to draw pictures so we wouldn't forget it. And we had to draw, and then we were graded on the pictures. Being educators, let me ask you 3 questions. Number 1, a young man walking down the street of New York City asking a passerby, what is the fastest way to get to Carnegie Hall? And the answer was? Practice, practice, and practice. What's the fastest way to get into poverty? Practice, practice, and practice of sex when you in your teen and pre-teenagers and become a single parent. No faster way. What's the fastest way to stay out of poverty? It's education, education, education. And the right education. It appears to me
that while we're educating our young people, we are never really telling them where children might be coming from. Maybe they're still believing in the story. And what is the responsibility and the burden you have when you are 100% successful in the only thing you could have possibly been successful at that young age? That's procreation and getting pregnant. And then the guys with their pants hanging down say, hey, check this out. My woman might be, you know what I mean? She's pregnant. I'm successful. I'm something. With all the education we are telling our kids, reading, math, arithmetic, science, what have you, we forget to tell them that children should only be conceived by a married man and a married woman. Hopefully they're married to each other, by the way, when they're ready and able to support, financially support another human being, and not before. Let me give you this example. LBJ, President Johnson, in 1964 declared a war on poverty. Less than 10% of all the children were living with single parents. Today, it's skyrocketed to 40%. In 1950, less than 5% of all babies born in this country were born to single parents. Today, it's over 40%. The poverty rate of a household of married couples in this country is 6.8%. That of a single female parent is over 40%. The evidence is irrefutable. Get pregnant before you're married in the teens and preteens, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. This is silver, by the way. The chances are you're 100% assured that you will be ending up in poverty and be a proverbial drain on the social system of the United States of America. So what is my solution? My solution is to develop a national parenting law policy requirement called the TNPSA, the National Parenting Success Act, which would require anyone prior to the age of 21, before you can act or engage in sexual activity, to be educated in much math, science, arithmetic, in a national parenting education curriculum. And you will pass that when you exit high school. You get a high school diploma and a TNSPA. And those who succeed will be highly rewarded. You get a free education, college education, or education you might want. Plus, a brand spanking new BMW, or any car for that which you might want. And a free health savings account which is set up by the federal government when you are born, and fully funded and gifted to you once you pass the test. And a down payment for your home in the future when you're ready and able to buy the home. This is my way of reducing poverty in this country. We've been fighting the war on poverty since '64. Are we winning? No, we're losing. What are we doing right now to reduce single parenting and the ensuing poverty? We're floating the idea of sexual abstinence until you're married. And in some cases, we give out free condoms. No education, no upside rewards. But once the girl is pregnant, then the money opens from the federal government. Prenatal care, free birthing, free health care, food stamps, free this, free that. And don't forget the monthly government check sent to you for being irresponsible. We are 33rd of industrialized nation in child mortality, infant mortality rate. Something to be really proud of. In the meantime, poverty is increasing, single parenting is increasing, more children are born to single parents. While the out-of-the-box educational approach I brought to this distinguished audience is not the total solution, but it's a solution in the right way. Here is what I want you to take home tonight. 3 things. And it's not the pepper shaker, it's not the silverware, it's not the napkins. It is number 1, single parenthood is the number 1 reason for poverty increase in this country. And these young people, while they are educated or miss a lot of education, They need to be educated in number one, human responsibility and child and sexuality responsibility. And number two, education. Education doesn't solve all the problems, but having a policy and law which will prevent sexual activity until you're 21 and you have the TNSP is the right approach. Now think about it. You can drive a car until you're 16 and pass the test. You can smoke and you can drink alcohol until you're 21. But you can have children at 9 and no repercussion. In fact, the government opens up the pockets. Number three, like it is. Like I said, getting to Carnegie Hall is practice, practice, practice. This is education, education, education. Education in procreation. That baby should only be conceived by a married man and woman when you're ready and able to support another human being. You have a great trip back home.
Thank you. Thank you. 1 minute on the clock time, please.
It's Toastmasters, anything counts, right?
Thank you. As we move along, in the interest of time, I'm going to introduce our second speaker, who will be speaking, completing the Speaking to Inform Manual number 5. Well done, just went through that manual. She'll be speaking about colors, and if you look around your table, there are some things. There's going to be a fun exercise, not only being a musician that performs around the Central Florida, but also we've seen her demonstration here at the club. So please help me welcome Carrie Bird as she speaks to us colors.
I was inspired for this speech by my upcoming orchestra concert to look at both colors and music and how they're related. Neither colors nor music actually describe anything, however they can elicit emotion. But Stravinsky argued that there is no emotion in music, and that the only emotion that one feels is brought from the listener themselves. In this way, music and colors are similar. Colors can elicit an emotion, however, it's what somebody sees into it is not what is actually there, or just a solid color. Obviously a painting, things like that are a little bit different. It is likely though that for both music and colors, no two people will either see or hear them the same. What you hear, what Stephanie will hear will be different than what Gus hears. And certainly what Mike sees in a color is probably different than what Alexander sees. And in this way, with my orchestra concert that's coming up, we have been exploring this. It's the concept of by conductor Justin Milchoni. He feels that music has inspired artists, while at the same time composers have been inspired by some of the colors and artworks that they see around them. And we'll be doing a show called Colors in June, and with this, while we're playing, there will be colors shown in the background. And it is the colors that he chooses that he feels they represent. Does not always agree with, in my personal opinion, some of them, but it is his vision, is what we'll be playing. So what you have in front of you have colors,
and I'm gonna play one of the pieces. And I'm not gonna tell you what the name of it is, because I also want to see if the name of the piece of music makes a difference. But I want you, after I play a little piece of it, to let me know what color you think it is. Not sure how loud this is gonna be, so. What color did you all see? And this is the reaction that I got in most cases from one of my friends. A lot of red, white, and blue. It was written by Aaron Copland, who is American. Does it change your opinion if I tell you that the name of it is Variations on a Shaker Melody from Appalachian Spring? That is the color it will be in the concert. It will be green. and that's what I'm saying. Like did that actually change in your mind when you know what he was going for? And I've got another one. This might be. And most people have some version of red. It will be red in the concert at Smalgueno, which it's Latin inspired, so most people think fiery, spicy, hot, therefore red. And I have one more. This is the one I do not agree with. Well, you know, that I do not agree with. There we go. And what color do you think that is? Interesting. It will be yellow in the concert.
Oh my God, that was red hot music.
For myself, I do not see yellow. I personally, for this, see hockey players. I grew up in Buffalo. It's the Sabre Dance. Went to the Buffalo Sabres hockey games, and that is all I picture when I hear it. It's pretty much their theme song, so all I picture is the blue and yellow and hockey. So I don't see the yellow. I don't get it for what is going to be in our concert, but that's okay. It's not my mission. Anyway, shameless plug for my concert. It's going to be June 2nd, the 12th and 13th, and it will be at the Calvary Christian Church. If anyone would like to go.
Sure. Minute on the clock, please, for the final evaluation of the prepared speeches today. Thank you. As you think about Memorial Day coming up on Monday, Memorial Day was what was called decoration day, but then, because we decorate everything, here in America, we decorate musical concerts with yellow, red, blue. But after the Civil War, people were remembering those who they've lost. I think it's very personal to us these days to really take seriously Memorial Day. If you have friends and relatives or people who've given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Think about when you celebrate, when you think about Iraq, Afghanistan, and the different parts of the world, and even the most recently, a Marine giving his life right from our own state here. I am thinking that as we go into this year's celebration of Memorial Day, it should give different meaning to us. It should come very close to us, the freedom, so that we can honor and celebrate those others. I will give some closing comments. After we go into the next exciting part of our meeting, which is called Table Topics. And I now want to introduce our distinguished Toastmasters.
All fair game.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than barbecues and cookouts, can you think of a better way to commemorate Memorial Day, Macarena?
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I usually do spend every Memorial Day barbecuing, spending it with close friends and family. I personally do not have any relatives who have served in the military or army. I was never able to relate to anyone who has lost a loved one because of a war or a conflict. So I was never able to fully understand the emotions that go into remembering a loved one that has served in the military. But I do know friends who have lost a grandfather, a great-grandfather in a war and have shared their stories with me. It's a very difficult time because they don't want to share their stories. It does bring up a lot of emotions. But I like to really spend the day happy with close friends, with family, and enjoy the day honoring our country. Thank you.
You may not know anyone personally, but can you say freedom? Harry. Any history buffs? American history buffs, besides Steve. Anyone know anything about the Star-Spangled Banner? Where it was written? By whom? When? Fort McHenry. One of our commemorative quarters, Fort McHenry. That's where the lawyer from Washington, what was it, Francis Scott Key, was so inspired when he saw that the flag had survived bombardment. And that's when he wrote the poem, which later became the national anthem. In 1931, it was adopted as the official national anthem of this country. You've been called on to sing the Star-Spangled Banner at the Toastmasters Conference. And halfway through, you forget the words. You're going to either fake it, switch to another song, a patriotic song that you know better, or launch into the history of the theme and razzle-dazzle people that way. Which will it be, Julia?
Thank you, Table Topics Master. That would probably be something that would actually happen to me if I had to sing. Pray God you don't ever have to listen to me sing, because I can't sing. But if I was singing and I forgot the words, what would I do? I would most likely try to draw the crowd in and let them know I need help, and have them, I would not change the song because that's our national anthem. Shame on me for forgetting the words. Probably the shyness of me would just go afraid of stage fright. But I would bring the crowd in, and hopefully they would catch my back on that, and we would finish the song strong, and then I would remember the words. So that's, I think, what I would do. Thank you.
Mike Hughes, do you know every line of the Star Spangled Banner?
Oh, my goodness.
Let's hear it.
No. What I'm going to tell you is, yes, those words do mean something to me, being there, done that. When you come back, the words have different meanings. Understand the history of seeing something that's been bombarded and how it still stands really catches the eye. And if those of you who've ever traveled the world and seen something that's been torn by war and have that one monument still standing, it carries a new weight. It carries a new meaning. So when you look at that flag, you see it still flying. Remember this Memorial Day, remember who's fought for it.
As we celebrate and start on the 3-day weekend, your picnic, watch some movies. I like to watch more movies, and Memorial Day is one of those I go back and watch as many movies as I can. Listen to some stories about family members and friends who've been there. Just reflect and remember those we celebrate, those we honor, and we say thank you for the freedom they've given to us, the sacrifice, the suffering, and the service of this nation. We live in a great nation, and this is another weekend that we just remind us to celebrate the freedom we have. In concluding my time here, we'll be moving into the next portion of our meeting, which is the general evaluation. I want to invite Mr. Stephen Morgan, distinguished, and all of the titles you can think about. Mr. Stephen Morgan.
Thank you, guys. Now that we get to move into the educational part of the meeting, we want to get the feedback. We need to come here to learn and grow. Beginning first with the evaluations of the prepared speeches. The evaluation of Samuel Bailey's speech. Please welcome Alexandra Balda.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmaster, and especially Sam. Sam, you have been working very, very hard moving along these projects. As everybody knows, Sam is working on project number 3, Get to the Point of the Competent Communication Manual. I'm going to try not to be intransigent with this evaluation. Sam, get to the point, you need to define a general purpose and then narrow to the specific purpose of the speech. In my opinion, the general purpose was very clear. Personally, I believe the general purpose of the speech was inspirational. Do you feel inspired by the speech of Sam? I believe so. The specific purpose of the speech, you're supposed to narrow, like I said before, the general purpose into more specific areas. From the title, A Formula to Growth, into a more clearly defined specific purpose when you explain the 3 kinds of people we should have in our life. So you went from the general purpose and you start narrow that into the 3 people we should have in our life, which are Barnabas, Paul, and Timothy. The speech organization is something also that I need to evaluate you, and I believe the speech organization was beautifully mastered. The opening was very strong. The body was clearly fluent coming from the opening, and the conclusion, you reinforce the purpose again. Sam, I believe you achieved the specific purpose that was inspire the audience. You use no notes, which is amazing to be doing project number 3 with no notes. You seem extremely confident and sincere. And you can take advantage of some pauses. That's a recommendation, especially at the beginning of the speech. At the end, you can use a little more pauses to create more impact into the message. Your body language is something that is not part of the project, but you asked me to give you some feedback. I believe you have a nice eye contact with the audience. You use your prop and you feel comfortable using it. Something I could do different, when you said money comes from different areas, you use both of your hands in a powerful position. However, our recommendation is you were using, I don't know if you're left-handed or not, but you're using this hand very strong, in a strong position, and this hand, the right hand, was kind of dead. So my advice would be next time, try to leave your right hand and use her in a powerful position as well. Sam, you're doing amazing. Project number 3. Wow, kudos and congratulations.
And now evaluating Ernst Renchek's speech, please welcome Mike Hughes.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, especially guests. Here we are talking to 100 educators about how they're on the left side. I would be careful. I would be careful, because that's a room full of angry people. I like the speech. It was definitely powerful. You moved around the room and you used your body language. But study your body language a little bit more, just recommendation, and use words that are powerful, make the point, and stop and pause and look around. Use pauses a little bit more efficiently, and I think that would definitely bring more power to what you were trying to say, because you got a great message. Go from my woman, my bee to let's make a change, let's fix this. The National Parenting Act, great solution, I like that. Let's get in there, let's educate, educate, educate. Really drive that point home, and I like that. I had a few questions about the TNSPA. I didn't know what that was, but.
National Parenting Solution Act.
You had NPA, I think you had
Right.
TNSPA, and I was like,
Yes.
Okay, so.
a lot of acronyms, whatever. I do love a good acronym, however, it is what it is. The easy on your put downs. You put yourself down so much, and I felt it was, you take credit away from yourself. If you've been chosen to speak, tell them why I need to listen to you. I've been here 42 years, been parenting, doing this, great, leave it. I've done this, this, and this. That's why you need to listen to me. Not, I don't know much, and then basically berate yourself. And I felt, just ease up on it, because great message of it. You had a motivating pitch, love that. Sodcasting tone, you talk to everybody in the room. Vary it just a little bit. Vary it just a little bit. Slow down, get quiet for those little points. Really draw them in, and then step back and belt it. Body language, and then slow down, more vocal variety. Pauses, got that. A intransigent is a good word that I want to incorporate in this. I'm trying to find a way to incorporate it. We use an actual definition, so. But I like your message, reduce poverty.
I'm going to use intransigent the next time.
I missed the word of the day, so. So, my message to you is practice, practice, practice. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. And with Erica's absence, I'm stepping in to take on the third evaluation for Carrie Bird's speech at this time. There is no emotion in music. So Stravinsky said. As Carrie told us in her speech about the abstract concept, I'm not sure where the emotion is, but we all seem to have something coming from it, from our own perceptions. A wonderful way of approaching the abstract concept into taking in what we think of from music and along the way, how we just seem to perceive color as well. Putting these two together and then dragging us all in and making us do stuff along the way. What I found fascinating about this was how you managed to pull together both the audio and visual aids at the same time. Interacting with the audio aids you were dealing with up here and having us deal with all the visual aids. And at the same time, since we're having to choose and hold all these things up, now it becomes tactile as well. In that sense, you're engaging the three major senses, and the educators within here, to get us all involved and to, I'm sure we'll remember this one for quite a while. suggestions that I can give for you on this one. The opening, you came in very soft. You were starting with apologizing, and before we got to the point where I would have said, start with the quote. Start with something that's going to engage, grab the impacts, and then move on from there. The part about the project itself being the abstract concept was, I'm not sure which concept it was you were planning to present and explain to us as the abstract concept. There were several of them. And it could have been any one of them, and if it's just simply, essentially a way of segueing into the concert, it was a great way of tying them together, but in many ways it's kind of like multiple concepts coming in there. Although I love the way they came together. The perception of how we may perceive color differently, and I was getting the example of black and white. For those of us in the West, we usually see black as the evil color, but if anyone's coming from the East, it goes the other way around, and white's the color that they perceive as bad and black